the world that we live in, chaos is ruling. 25 years ago, when we were turning on the internet, we were just turning it on. You look back at the early days of the internet, there was this idea that the internet was going to save us because we would get the truth. No matter who was trying to hide it, we would get the truth on the internet. But instead, what's happened is we have 5 million versions of every story. And before, we had only 2 or 3 versions of the story, which were lies, but maybe with only 2 or 3 versions of the story that had misinformation built in, you might be able to actually figure out what happened. But now with 10,000 versions of a story, how can you ever know what really happened? So more information has led us not into clarity, which is what we were claiming. You know, I'm one of the guys that's got internet on cable. You know, the fact that you have internet on cable is partly, you can blame me, just like you can blame me for 600 channels. I was part of that digital technology putting it together. We really thought we were doing something really good. We thought that with all these choices and with the internet, everybody would you wouldn't be able to hide the truth. And instead, what's happened is we've created mashups, and it's led everything into total chaos. So now, yeah, blame me. You blame me and my friends. So chaos is swirling around, and these story weavers, some of them are innocent in the sense that they're trying to weave together the best story they can, but they recognize their bias, and so their bias is going to get them. Some of them are just plain manipulative. They will change the story any way they need to. They will insert intentional lies or deception. They will change the truth in the reporting in order to sway you or move you. They're very deceptive and very manipulative. The problem is, unless you study these guys, which none of us have time to do, it's hard to tell which one is being manipulative and which one is just innocently portraying the event based on their bias. And so the end result of this is, as we listen to these story weavers practice their craft with apparent authority, because they always speak as if they know what they're talking about, we are stuck in the middle. Because they're defining what is good, and they're defining what is bad in their stories. And we're listening to that, even though we know they're trying to influence our opinion. We're still stuck in the middle. Because we come in and say, this is what's good according to Scripture, this is what's bad according to Scripture. They know we're doing that. And so they're spinning things to try to unravel our worldview and replace it with their own. And it's intentional for many of them. It's intentional for many of them. So what happens is we end up with chaos, what I call information chaos. And many people think they know what's going on. But all of us are at the mercies of the few eyewitnesses that actually saw what happened.
I was going to say, you have to be there.
And because many of these things are very political, we have no idea what was said and what the movers and shakers did behind closed doors.
They're making it political.
We have no idea whether there was things really happening behind the scenes or whether it just happened. We don't know whether the CIA really did initiate it or whether it's just a bunch of bad guys shooting at people.
Are they trying to hide evil?
They're trying to redefine good and evil based on their perspective.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to do. And let me just not even say, they're not just trying to do it, they're doing it.
Oh, yeah.
They're doing it in the public forum. And as a result of that, because chaos is swirling around, and because they reserve the right to change their story tomorrow in order to fit tomorrow's agenda, then they can today say something is right, and tomorrow say something else is right without ever referring to what they said was right 2 days ago, 5 days ago, 1 year ago. And we see this in politicians all the time, because a politician will make a speech a year ago, and then they'll make a speech yesterday, and you compare the speech and say, hey, you said you were against this a year ago, and now you're for it. And they come up with a whole bunch of double speak to justify it. So we can kind of see it with the politicians, but what we need to realize is the news reporters are doing exactly the same thing. The storytellers are doing exactly the same thing. They're changing the story. They're redefining history. So when you see a show, on TV that's supposed to be a historical account of Abraham Lincoln's life or George Washington's life or somebody else's life, you don't know whether they just made a bunch of stuff up and weaved it into a story they wanted to tell that portrays them the way they wanted to portray them, or whether any of it's true or not. How can we know?
We got to dig up the old books.
Or go read the PhD dissertation that they took the stuff out of, just if we can understand the language, and try to figure out whether there's any basis for it or not. So what's happening is, because they're defining what is right and they're redefining history on a daily basis, it's going on a daily basis, it's like fog is rolling in off the ocean. It's like the marine layer coming in, but it never is clearing.
Yep.
It rolls in, and it kind of a little bit clears, but then more rolls in, and then more rolls in. And what's happening in a day when we have incredible information, that information overload is not helping us at all. In fact, things are getting darker and darker, and it's harder to tell what's true and what's not, even for the person that's biblically based.